Welcome to the Awakening Women podcast. I'm your host, Leanne Oaten, and former therapist with a background in counseling psychology. This podcast is for strong, high-achieving women who want more in their lives and relationships, who are ready to rise to the next level of growth, healing, and evolution. Nothing changes until you change. And when you change, everything else changes around you as a result. If you're done with feeling powerless within the chaotic and toxic dynamics in your relationship and don't even know where to begin with making changes, I've got you covered. I know you've tried everything, including counseling, watching hours of videos, and reading stacks of books on narcissism, and find that all it does is leave you feeling even more stuck and in the same place. None of these things work when you're living with a narcissistic spouse because the root causes of the symptoms are not being addressed. As with physical health, there is an emotional, physical, spiritual, and psychological component to healing and overcoming the problematic symptoms and pain you're facing every day in your life and relationship. If you're ready for a direct, no fluff, no nonsense approach to take you into your personal power and take back your life, you are in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome to this episode of the Awakening Women podcast. I didn't get an episode out as planned on the Thursday that I have been trying to stick to. And I really wanted to just come on and be honest and real and just share kind of what's going on for me behind the scenes and some changes in direction that I'm feeling really inspired to make and really just make a pivot. So for the past 11 years, I have been a counselor coach, right? I started off as a therapist. I had my own private practice. I did that for about 5 years. And then I pivoted into an online business. I worked with women who I specialized in burnout and healing adrenal fatigue and emotional eating and eating disorder patterns, because these were things I myself had struggled with and I wanted to help women overcome those as well. And so I specialized in that. And if you were to scroll back to the very first episodes of this podcast, it used to be called Thrive from the Inside Out. And all those episodes are around holistic healing. My practice was holistic based. I was a holistic counselor. And so I dealt with not just what was going on mentally with clients, but emotionally, spiritually, physically, relationally, all of it. And once I started doing that for a while, I pivoted into Awakening Women. And that was where I really was focused in on helping women identify and overcome covert narcissistic abuse, to exit these relationships like I've been, for lack of a better way of explaining it, like in the trenches with them. When I work one-on-one, they have access to me through Voxer. I'm there for them Monday to Friday. They're going through something with their narcissistic spouse. There's things going on that they are navigating. They have access to me to help them navigate and keep them accountable to move forward. And I've been doing that since 2018. And I also ran my program, End the Cycle, which you've probably heard of if you've been around here a while. You may have even been in the program at some point in the past 6 years as I have ran it. And I haven't run a live group session of this program in quite some time. So what has really been going on for me is this feeling of like, as much as I want to serve women who are stuck in these relationships, like I have so many podcast episodes if you're in that place. I have a program that goes in depth that you can just purchase and go through it yourself, and you will transform your life. There's no way you won't if you go through the process. I'm no longer going to be running that program as a live group program. I'm going to be offering lower tier products from that program, kind of separating them out. I'm just doing a whole, revamp of what I'm offering. I'm not sure what that looks like yet. I just finished hiring my own coach. So to help me with this, because I got this business to over, multiple six figures, and I don't love talking about narcissism and narcissistic abuse anymore. For me, it's like having to dig into a wound that I am trying to heal in my own life. Every time I have to talk about what they're doing, what kind of behaviors they have, it can be triggering for me, definitely. Just even reading stuff or even being in it. And if you're a client of mine, don't worry. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I will, finish up with the current one-on-one clients I have that are currently grappling with this in the relationship. But where I'm at now is I want to help women heal. I want to help women feel empowered and increase their self-worth so they don't end up attracting another user, abuser in the future. I want you to reclaim all the lost parts of yourself. And I want to talk about how to be in your feminine so that you can attract a healthy masculine man. This is something I am so passionate and obsessed about right now. Like, I want to talk about it all the time. But right now it's just percolating within me about how I want to actually do this. And so it's not fully formed yet, but I wanted to let those of you here on the podcast know kind of on the inside what it is that is going on here. So I am no longer going to be working with women or running programs with women, like talking about the narcissistic abuse and the toxic relationship stuff. I feel like I've said all there is to say on that and more. That's where it's been. I'm like, I don't even know what to talk about anymore. I want to talk about like healing. I want to talk about growth and expansion and, how do you get into a healthier relationship? How do you have to show up to make sure that you're getting into healthier relationships in the future? Instead of pointing the finger at the other person, we have to take responsibility for ourselves. And so I sat down with I have a business journal. I have a journal for everything, like gratitude journal, my mind dump journal. I have a business journal that's more like a big, huge book with pages and lines in it. And I love it. I love that it's huge and I can just do a whole page and get all this stuff out. So some of the ideas that I'm going to be talking about coming up in the podcast and what I want to help women with is literally transforming from the inside out. It's like going full circle back to what I was doing prior, but with more wisdom, more knowledge, understanding when we are in perpetual burnout, when we are emotional eating or having disordered eating patterns, that there's something unhealed within us. And likely a lot of times it is the relationship that we're in. I don't want to, put a blanket statement on it that every woman that emotional eats or is chronically sick or has autoimmune or perpetual adrenal fatigue or whatnot, that they're all in a bad toxic relationship. But you could be in a relationship you're just not happy in. But then you have to take self-responsibility and change yourself. And as we change ourselves and as we grow and we step more into our feminine energy, then these relationships likely stop working. They just likely will end. And we have to be okay with that. We have to focus on what we have control over. And so even if you are in one of these relationships, this is not to say everything I'm going to be sharing isn't going to be pertinent, because it will be. It's actually the work I do in my program, but I market it as healing from narcissistic abuse, right? I cover what it is, what they say, all of that in my program. But the work inside of it is basically now what I'm going to be more talking about here on the podcast. And so some of those are just building self-worth and self-esteem. When we have ended up in a relationship like this, our self-worth is in the toilet. And it was in the toilet before we even got into it. And you can say, yes, but I was successful. I had everything. had a good career. I had all these things. And yes, but a woman that has healthy self-worth would not put up with what we have put up with when we're in one of these relationships for decades. So we have to heal our self-worth. We really need to know what it is to love ourselves. We need to build our self-awareness. We need to look at where we self-abandon, which is what I also consider to be codependency. I don't like labels, but it is the tendency to leave self to please others. So people pleasing. We're going to be talking about setting boundaries from our feminine energy rather than our masculine energy and why it's important. Integrating the masculine and feminine energy and traits and what that actually means. This is not about scientific anything. This is just it's about honoring the fact that we have, as women, typically heterosexual women, we have more feminine energy and traits within us than a man does. And if we have too much masculine going on, we will put up with a man who is not in his healthy masculine, who is more in his feminine. And I believe that narcissistic men are more in their feminine. They're not leading, they're not protecting, they're not providing, they're not being that healthy. And really, the cure to knowing if you are with the right person or not, wherever you are in the spectrum in your relationship, as far as your level of happiness or the toxicity happening. You have to come back to you. And this is, again, the foundation of my program and what I've been teaching, is that you have to come back to you. You have to stop with the nagging and the teaching and the leading and the ultimatums and the micromanaging and the mothering. It's like, if you realized how much you're doing this, you would be sick. And for me, I'm still learning all of this. And I look back and I realize, oh my God, like, do you wonder why you don't have physical attraction to your partner when you are mothering him and having to pick up after him and nag him and micromanage him and tell him what he needs to do? It's absolutely a turnoff. It absolutely will burn you out if you're with someone like that. So again, it's not about, oh, he's this, he's that. It's about, all right, this is my reality. I'm hiring a cleaner. I am putting that time and attention and focus on me. I'm going to start growing me. I'm going to get a coach. I'm going to get a mentor. I'm going to focus on what I need to do instead of putting all this energy into fixing him. Like, have you ever stopped to ask yourself, like, what's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? I need to get a life. Do anything, please, like anything other than stand there and nag a man and try to tell him how he needs to treat you. Instead, go do something else. Focus on something else, a project. Start a podcast, start a YouTube channel, start a business, start a hobby, go see friends, write a book. Again, hire a coach. Like for me, when I am ready for my next up level, wherever it is, I will hire someone that resonates with me where I want to go. And this is personally, business, relational. I'm constantly purchasing courses of, varying levels, coaching programs, because I crave growth. I cannot stand being stagnant. And so I'm right now in a current period of wanting to expand and grow and change. And so the last thing you ever want to do when you have your own purpose, your own drive, your own stuff you're doing, your own career or business, do you really want to sit around and have to micromanage a grown man? Do you want to mother a man? Ew, right? It's like, ew. And that is on you. That is your work. And so and again, going off on a tangent, we will be talking about those kinds of things as well. Also talking about midlife and perimenopause and aging and having kids turning into teenagers and graduating. Like, this is a whole other stage of life, right? There's so much goodness in all of this. Like, everything I've learned from this 6 years working with Awakening Women, I have gleaned so much from them and learning through them, and then also learning what their needs are. I have grown as a person in the last 6 years exponentially, and I want to bring that growth and expand into what I'm talking about. So these are some of the things we're going to be talking about: being a high value woman, anxious attachment. This is a big one, something that I have become aware of over the last couple of years, that is definitely something I can relate to. Tapping into your wild woman energy, so your intuition, your values, your standards, the things that you want, and really refocusing in on your goals, like all areas of life. And this is all about doing this on a holistic level. So you start with you. Everything is about starting with you. So again, it's not that my approach is changing, because it's not. It's more, I want to work with women who are out of these relationships and they're ready to heal and take back their power and take ownership for why they got there in the first place. Because the last thing I ever want for any woman is for her to finally get out of that hellhole of one of these relationships and end up back in another. The biggest thing is not doing the work. And you could be single for decades and still end up with another similar type if you are not doing the work to self-value. It really is. It sounds so cliche, but it really, really is. Having the self-worth to know that if a man does something for you, it doesn't mean you owe him something back. Like, just that's a thing that I think we women carry with us. It's like, if a man is doing something nice for us, we're thinking, how can I return the favor? And this is where we go wrong. It's not to say that we're not reciprocating, but the way women reciprocate will look different. And so much I could talk about on this. And so really, to wrap up, what I'm trying to say here is that I won't be talking about narcissistic abuse anymore. I might refer to it in what I'm talking about. If you are someone who has been in it, I think it's pertinent to the journey because, it's going to take some time for you to actually heal through that. And honestly, you think you heal and then you get into a relationship and realize how unhealed you actually are. And so there's different levels to this. And so I won't be talking about narcissistic traits or behaviors. I've already done that. So if you are new here or you're newer, there's tons of episodes on all of that. I've talked about that to death, and I no longer want to do that. I want to move past that phase of my life as well and talk about expansion. What is available to you after you choose yourself and get out of one of these relationships? How do you heal? How do you reclaim yourself? How do you navigate dating and a new relationship, right? Because you could leave one and end up right back into another bad situation, or even just a situation or a relationship you don't like. And so how do you pace things? How do you do things to know, like, am I with the right person right now, right? It's really important work, super important. So before I go on and on and on, that's really what I wanted to share here. And just to let you know to expect a different flavor of episodes when I come and record. And I am offering one-on-one coaching for women who are ready for this, who are ready to take self-responsibility and really take ownership for their healing and ownership for their role and why they tolerated what they did. And maybe that's you. Maybe you're at that place. It's about reclaiming self so that we never lose ourselves again, and reclaiming it and then keeping it, like holding that strong, and know what that actually looks like. So if you're interested in applying for coaching, I have new packages and different payment plans. So this is something I have not done before, offering extended payment plans for my one-on-one coaching packages. So you can check that out at Leanneoten.com/apply if you would like a customized one-on-one experience with Voxer support. And I also, as I said, it's customized to where you are in your journey, what your goals are, what it is that you want to achieve. This is all what will drive the direction that we go, and the materials that I give you, and the homework, and the tools and modules, because I have so much content. So I will be giving you practices and homework and things that you need to be doing to pull your energy back, to reclaim yourself, to self-connect, to tap into your calm, to start soothing your own nervous system. Like, how do you do this, right? And that's what I'm going to be teaching, as well as wellness practices and how to heal, right? So for me, this is the other piece, is I'm not really grappling with it anymore. I'm doing okay. Like, I'm doing much better, but with the autoimmune illness that I have, I spent most of January sick, like so sick, like unbelievably sick. Like, it's a blur to me because I think I was like on death's door or something because it was that bad. So for me, I think I had to look at everything in my life that led up to that diagnosis, that led up to that. And there's multiple pieces. And I really believe a part of it is that I was no longer aligned with what I'm doing, and I need to heal and put that part of my life aside. It's like, it's like I always say, it does not heal you to keep talking about what you've been through over and over again. You talk about it for the purpose of being able to put it aside and move on from it. But when you're constantly talking about something that has harmed you, that you're trying to heal from, you just keep reopening those wounds. And I really believe that's what was happening. And that's part of my overall. I've learned so many things in it. Like, I need to know, like, actually put me first. And what does that mean? How do I stay in connection with self? How do I stay in alignment with myself, what I want, what I need in every moment? And how am I filling myself up? And that is all on me, as it is on you. So, long story short, change is coming. I've got one-on-one coaching at this time. I don't have a program yet or anything based on this new direction. So it's going to just be one-on-one coaching, and I will be having some courses and things that you can purchase as well. So it's just evolving, really. And I hope that you will be on this journey with me and that you're excited about this new direction. If you're in a place where you're like, I don't want to read one more post about narcissistic abuse ever. Like, you want to be, I think this is a stage of healing, right? There's a stage of information gathering. You're trying to make sense of it and all of that. But then, there's a stage of healing where you've just had enough of that and you're ready to move on. And this isn't about just shutting it down and disconnecting from any unhealed stuff. You have to take that time to heal. But if you are ready to actually do that work, then you're going to love what I have coming up soon for you. Thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of the Awakening Women podcast. If you love this episode, please take a moment to share it and leave a 5-star rating and review. If you're ready to take your next step, head to the link in the show notes to sign up for my latest free class. Also, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Awakening Women Official and join the conversation. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you again in the next episode. Take care of yourself in the meantime, and I'll see you online.